And last, but definitely not least, we come to Nier. You have been grinding out all of like the big hits recently throughout this season, and I think this time is no different for you, right?
Look, man, I just have a peak radar, okay?
Just
Tell us about
sensing the security.
how you found this series from this
Yeah,
Yeah,
newcomer.
so
This
where
I
hot new
you're like
watched
series
fighting
from this
swimming
hot
through.
new
You're like
director.
how? Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Just
like
magically saw it.
nobody's talking about this show.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I watched a little known show called Kido Senshi Gundam GQuuuuuuX, also known
Yeah.
as Mobile Suit Gundam
It's
G-Quax.
a lesser known series because nobody can pronounce the name correctly.
True, true, true. Um, so yeah, this is the new Gundam. This is from Studio Sunrise and Studio Kara. Um, who you might have heard
Oh,
of.
Kara. Okay, okay.
You might have heard of them. Um, I'll go over the staff real quick because I think that's certainly worth talking about. The director,
Mhm.
Kazuya Tsurumaki, has worked on a couple things people might have heard of. Um, he was the where is it? Yeah, so he was one of the main storyboarders, and one of the main episode directors and animation directors, as well as so the assistant director on a little series you might have heard of called Neon Genesis Evangelion. Um, he also directed the end of Evangelion movie. He also directed a little series called Fooly Cooly, um, Die Buster, among other things. Um, you know,
Yeah.
you also have um, Yoji Enokido. He's doing the script and series composition. He's worked on a little series called Neon Genesis Evangelion. He also worked on a little unknown series called Revolutionary Girl Utena. He also wrote for a little series called Fooly Cooly. He also wrote for a little movie called Redline. Um, and then you have our other scriptwriter, who's a bit of an obscure character named Hideaki Anno. Um, he's directed stuff like Nadia of the Blue Water, Gunbuster, a little series called Evangelion.
Mhm.
Um, you know, he's that guy.
I
He
like how you
also,
keep starting out with like the smaller series, and then you're like,
yeah,
by the way,
yeah, yeah.
Evangelion.
He also
Casual like that.
directed,
Yeah.
Shin Godzilla, winner of best, what is it like best picture for Japan. He also directed Shin Kamen Rider and Shin Ultraman. Um, and also he's the goat. Um,
Yeah.
Another noteworthy person on the staff is Take, who's the original character designer. Um, he's worked on famously the Pokemon series. He's done a lot of very iconic character designs for stuff like Sword and Shield and Sun and Moon. Characters like Nessa, Bea, Lusamine, stuff like that. He also did art for stuff like Katana Katari and the Zarigoto series. Um, so, to say the least, there's a lot of talent on this, alongside, all of the incredibly talented, animators and animation directors
Yeah,
from.
and it's not just and part of why this became such big news. It was not just. I mean, what Nier is saying is honestly an understatement, right? It's like it's not just that they were bringing in a lot of talented people. It's that GQuuuuuuX specifically was um in part sponsored by, I believe, a Chinese company, right? Or they were co-animating with a Chinese company or whatever it
Yeah,
was, right? And
I think
then
so.
on top, it's not Yostar, it's something else. It's one of the other Chinese companies. Um,
I'm not too sure.
but they teamed up to bring in all of the big guns, all
Yeah,
of the big guns. Also, stuff that they hadn't necessarily worked on Gundam before, right? Which is the big part, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
on like major Gundam before. So that was big. Like bringing the
Yeah.
Evangelion people to be like, by the way, please like just poop out a golden egg, a golden Gundam egg for us.
Yeah. Can
So
you can you make a can you make a series that will make us $1 bajillion? Thanks.
exactly.
All right,
That's
sure, I
literally how it
guess.
came out of the news. Yeah.
Um, yeah. So, in a lot of ways, this is sort of the Evangelion team's take on Gundam, um,
Yes, 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 yes.
which is an interesting pitch to say the least.
Mhm.
I think it's a pitch that a lot of really hardcore Gundam fans would probably turn their nose up at like uh first glance. Um,
Mhm.
Me personally, I'm not a hardcore Gundam fan. I'm a really hardcore Evangelion fan. So this is right up my alley. Yeah, the basic uh premise, the initial setup is sort of that this series takes place in a sort of um alternate universe, alternate timeline to the sort of uh I guess golden timeline of the Gundam universe, which is the UC timeline, right? That's what it's called. Um,
Timeline or
and
universe? Because UC is
I what is there a difference?
yes. This is not AU. This is the original Gundam timeline.
Okay, but it's a different universe, right? Like
Would you call Thunderbolt a different universe?
probably.
Not really. No, right? I don't think so. Because this
I
is
mean,
still
this has
following
like
the same
this has
timeline,
like
Just,
technically,
just,
right? Like,
just start with the split.
yeah,
well,
yeah. I mean, it,
yeah.
it is a split like timeline. But yeah. Anyway, so the idea is basically, um, instead of in the original series, Amado piloting the Gundam, Char pilots the Gundam. He finds the Gundam and he's like, "Hey, I kind of wanna, I kind of want to get in that thing. I kind of want to pilot that thing. That thing looks kind of cool." So he gets in the Gundam and he's like, "Wait a minute, this thing's kind of strong. This thing's kind of really, this thing can fucking kill people." Um, and he paints it red because he's autistic. And he ends up winning the war.
To be
Um,
fair, before it was red, it was ugly as fuck. So,
it's
you know.
true. It's true. Um, but yeah, he ends up winning the war for Xeon. And then at the end of the war, he disappears in an autistic explosion of super emotion. Um,
What's it called, near?
I don't even remember what they
Isn't it
call it. It's
It's
starts
Zanova?
called.
It's
It's
Zanova,
yeah,
called a
right?
Zek Nova.
Zeknova.
Zaknova. Yeah,
Yeah,
Zaknova. My bad.
yeah. Um, but yeah, it's
Yeah,
basically
it's
like a super autism explosion that seems to warp whoever is in the Red Gundam somewhere else. We don't know yet. Um,
he's become one with the universe, near.
yeah, yeah,
No, I don't know
maybe,
about
maybe,
that.
maybe. Um, but yeah,
He's
the and
become
then
the Kira, as it is called later on in the
yeah,
series.
and then the sort of setting is basically Xeon won the war, um, and now you know pick up in a sort of colony, um, and then it kind of just goes from there. Our main character sort of
Not just
stumbles
any
upon
colony, not just any colony, near. It's a quite important colony in Gundam lore, which is kind of
yeah,
weird. But I'm like,
yeah.
whatever. It's side six, near. Don't you know about side six?
Um, I mean, again, I'm not like the super
Side
super
six is
duper. Is that the
it's a
one that they
neutral
dropped
colony.
on?
No, it's a neutral colony.
Okay, all
No, they
right.
already in this. They already dropped the.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
They already
It's
dropped the
always the
colony.
colony drop on Australia. Also, yeah, side six is also funny Neolef, where War in the Pocket takes place.
Right. Um, but yeah, our main character, Almate Yuzuriha, also known as Mashu, right? Um, she ends up
Machu.
sort of Machu. That's she stumbles upon this super duper prototype Gundam. um, called the GQuuuuuuX, and she ends up discovering that she's a new type because she has autism and she can pilot it super well. And it sort of from there, it kind of goes into a relatively kind of straightforward, almost like shonen setup, where they're kind of just doing battles in this sort of underground fighting ring to make money, so that way they can build up some funds to buy a ship so they can go to Earth. Because one of the other characters who also has super autism wants to go to Earth because he has the red Gundam mysteriously. Um, Even though that was Char's Gundam, and he wants to go to Earth because the Gundam is telling him to go to Earth. Um, and then that's kind of just the basic setup. And then as it goes along, there's a lot of sort of nods to the classic series, and then a lot of sort of mysterious splits as to like what exactly is going on with this weird sort of alternate timeline universe thing. Um, I don't want to get too into super spoiler territories, but it's pretty interesting. Um, there's a lot of classic Gundam characters show up in this. Um, you have the sort of Xeon higher ups showing up a lot, like
Is it a
Cassilia.
lot of like multi-perspective kind of stuff? Is that how the screen time goes, or no?
Um, so it's almost the vast majority is from Machu's perspective. But
Mhm.
it does show just like general like other happening, political
Okay, okay, I
meetings, stuff
see.
like that. There's also Neon, who's our sort of setup deuteragonist. She hasn't had that much screen time, although they are setting up quite a bit with her. Um, but yeah, it's mostly from the perspective of Machu.
I
Um,
see, I see, I see.
but yeah, there's a lot of very very interesting things happening. Again, I'm not like super super into Gundam. Um, like I watched the original series way back, and it's been a very much a strange trip to see a lot of these sort of classic characters showing up and being like, "Hey, I'm here. I'm doing stuff." Um, it almost, in a way, feels kind of like I said this to Dark earlier for the podcast, but it feels very fan fictiony almost. Um,
What do you mean?
Cause I mean the like I said, the initial setup is basically like, oh, what if Char had the Gundam? Wouldn't that be crazy? Wouldn't it be cool if Char was in the Gundam and he won the war basically like single handedly? Wouldn't that be so cool and awesome? Because Char is so cool and awesome. Um, you have that initial setup, because
You know what it
there's
kind of
quite
reminds me, what you just said? It kind of reminds me of Star Wars Visions and how it kind of mixes with also like, stuff like the Star Wars books and stuff like that, right? It's pretty much the same idea almost, in terms of like
yeah.
how the
So
media project
imagine like
is.
that, but it was like a Star Wars what if. Say, how Marvel does like the what if series.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like that, where it's like, yeah, Char's so awesome and cool, and he's like a badass pilot and stuff. If he had the Gundam, he totally would have won. Um, but it starts off with that, and then as the series goes on, more characters come in. There's a lot of sort of um, some more minor characters from the original series show up here and there, um, and they kind of blow up and die. And then you have some more of the bigger name series from the original stuff. Obviously, Chelia Bull, who was from the original series, has pretty big uh, presence here, as sort of he's kind of pulling the strings with a lot of stuff behind the scenes. He's sort of plotting, sort of, um, I don't know if it's a rebellion really, or sort of just like a restructuring of the Xeon Empire.
He's
You have
basically doing what Char was what
Yeah,
originally
I
did.
mean, right now, Chelia is basically like he's like a Giga Char like fanboy, right? Like he is basically like his life's mission is basically looking for Char or whatever the fuck happened to Char, and then right
But
now he's sort of
that's because he's his Mav, near. You should
true,
explain what a
true.
Mav is in this
They're
universe.
basically they're basically Gundam gay lovers, where you're uh they're basically partners, basically, right? Like Gundams in this, a Mav unit is kind of like a two-person team, and they sort of watch each other's back. But yeah, Charlie was Char's Mav, and he's like sort of, I guess, carrying out Char's will in a way, with this weird plan. You obviously have Cassilia Zabi, who's like one of the big
Who's
head
still
honchos.
alive?
Yeah,
You know,
somehow
apparently.
still alive because she didn't get fucking shot in the face with a rocket launcher in this timeline. But she's got like, a bunch of people gunning for her head. She's got like assassination plots going on her all the time. She's also pulling the strings with this weird G-Fred Gundam who looks like an Evangelion. Believe it or not, shocker.
What? No way. Where'd they get that
Yeah,
color, that totally original color
I don't know.
scheme
I don't
from?
know. I don't know. I think purple and green is a pretty underused color scheme for a mecha. But yeah. And then in the most recent episode, which if for me the most recent episode, which was episode 9, I'm not gonna get like super into spoilers or anything, but Lala, who is a very important character in the original series, kind of just like shows up. Um, and it's this episode kind of like, I'm kind of glad the episode didn't do it. But I'm also kind of like confused as to why exactly they introduced Lala if they weren't going to do it. But they kind of have Machu meet Lala, and then everyone around Machu and Lala are like, "Do you need to you need to get her out of here. Like you need to save her, right?" Um, because in the original series, Lala is like a very tragic character, right? Um, and in this, they've kind of been um, throughout the series, they've kind of been hinting that like Lala has some sort of important influence over what exactly is happening with all these new types, and sort of, pulling that sort of like string of fate. And then Lala kind of shows up.
Like a progenitor switch kind of stuff happening, or like what's happening?
Sort of. Lala is like, in the original, Lala is like the super duper mega autistic, like ultra new type that like um triggers the like super autism between Amado and Char. Um,
She's
yeah,
basically the reason why
Okay.
Amuro and Char become mortal enemies later on.
yeah,
Oh, okay, okay, okay,
like
okay.
Lala is basically like the I guess match that is like the rivalry between Amado and Char. But she shows up in the most recent episode, and everyone's like, you need to save Lala from like, you know, fate." And they're like, Machu's like, sure, yeah, I'll do that. But then at the end, Lala's like, no, I think I'll stay here. And it's like,
What?
okay, like I'm not really sure why she showed up other than to just be like, look, look, it's Lala. Um,
Would you like an explanation?
I mean, I'm sure they'll explain it. I know there's a lot going on. Again,
I
I don't
mean,
want to I don't want to spoil it.
it
I don't
was
want to
kind of
spoil it.
explained in the episode already,
Yeah,
but
it was,
if you
but
don't
it's
get it,
like,
then that's because you don't know me.
uh-huh. I mean, I get it. I get what's like, I kind of like, I kind
I
of
know
get
what Nier's
what's
trying to
going on.
say. I think Nier's trying to be like they justified it in the story, but it's also
It
it
basically
seems almost
near
obvious that
it's
they're kind of pushing it, right? To for
it's
because to for the story or for
basically
the
near it's
brand.
because in this timeline, Lala and Shar never met. Lala or Shar never went to Earth because he was too busy fighting in space, so he never met Lala. That's the kind of thing.
Yeah, but again, Lala is like, she talks about meeting Shar in her dreams. Like, the reasons that she doesn't leave is because she's waiting to meet Shar, right? So for me, it's kind of just like, because again, I don't want to get, I don't want to, I don't want to spoil, because there is a lot of shit has happened in the last like 2 episodes. Like the last 2 episodes have been so fucking full of um like setup and like plot like revelations and shit. Um Like, there's a lot of shit going on, but like it to me, it's obvious that like this version of Lala is probably going to have more influence on the story going forward. But I feel like this reveal was a bit weird to be like, yeah, Lala's here. She hasn't met Char yet, but she's still waiting to meet Char. You know what I mean? Um, I get why they did it, but I feel like it was, I don't know, a bit early or something. Um the whole Earth episode felt a bit like a side quest kind of thing. It's hard to explain. Like I know what they're setting up. It's just like I feel like they could have done it in a bit more synced manner. It's just it's just weird. It's hard to get into without spoiling it. But yeah. Yeah, but yeah, that's the basic story. Um it's a bit convoluted, I gotta say. If you're like I think if you're really autistic into um the Gundam lore, there's probably a lot more for you to sink your teeth into here. There's probably stuff that's completely going over my head, to be fair. Um,
What if you're like a complete newcomer to the franchise and you're like, oh, this Gundam series popped up this season, and it's
yeah,
done by the Evangelion. What would you tell them?
so I was about to get into that. To me, so again, like I said, I'm not really that big into Gundam. I've watched a handful of Gundam, right? Like I watched the original, I've watched G Gundam, I've watched 08th MS Team, I've watched Zeta Gundam, I watched fucking Reconquista and G. Um, but but I'm
But
not
Near, if you
like
watch Zeta, how do you not know all the references? I
because
got them
because that was
immediately.
a long fucking time ago. Okay,
Maybe you should
um,
rewatch Zeta.
I probably should, but um, I think as its own experience, uh, I think it's perfectly fine, right? I think
Right. Okay.
you might not necessarily grasp the fact that this is like an alternate timeline. Like if this is your first Gundam, like to you, like Char is just a badass, right? Like he's just a badass that won the war. Um, and it's not necessarily like it won't necessarily stand out uh that Char wasn't necessarily supposed to step into the Gundam. There is a line in the flashback where he gets the Gundam where he's like where Char like literally tells himself like I think me getting into that Gundam just changed everything, which is kind of funny. Um, but yeah, like I don't think there's really anything in this that's going to be like off-putting to somebody who's never watched Gundam before. I think it introduces a lot of like the Gundam terminology, stuff like bits and the different the different models and random like attachments and shit that Gundams have. I think it doesn't like get hyper artistically deep into it, but it explains it briefly and succinctly enough for you to not be lost. Um,
Oh, okay. I see. I
A
see.
lot of the
I
main
think
characters that show up that are important to the plot are properly explained. And then the rest that are like, oh, here's an Easter egg. They're like, oh, hey, here's that guy. And that's
yeah,
it.
like a lot of characters that would be that for like Gundam I guess regulars that are kind of like this guy showing up is basically an Easter egg. It doesn't do this thing where it's like this guy being on the screen is a big deal right now. Like he's basically just a character that's on the screen, right?
It's almost like a
Um
cameo. Yeah.
yeah. And then all of the characters that are like plot relevant, they have, um their exposition set up, their backstory set up properly. There's nothing that's really I don't see anyway unless you're just straight up like not paying attention. I don't see anybody being lost in it, which is pretty impressive actually because like there's a lot of stuff going on this series. There's a lot of because like this is uh post-war Gundam, like a post-war Gundam series. So there's a lot of stuff that they kind of are glazing over in a way to where they're kind of mentioning things, but it's in a way to where you grasp like what happened, but they don't have to like exposition dump entire events. Um,
It's really
and
good writing
stuff.
though, because it's like I don't know whether it's necessarily. brought on by the nature of like a Gundam series or not, but it's like being able to um both layer how to say this? Do the basic story while layering on the explanation, while layering on also, as you said, kind of the Easter eggs is quite hard to do. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah,
it sounds hard to do already when you're saying it out loud, but it's even harder when you're trying to execute it, right? So
yeah, for sure. And then I mean, it's balancing all of this like pre-established Gundam lore that is shifted because it's an alternate timeline, right? And then it's also having to do all of these new characters, this sort of new mystery stuff with like where in the world is Char, right? And what's going
right,
on
right,
with the
right.
Red Gundam? You know, like there's a lot of stuff. There's like multiple factions that pop up. Uh, yeah, it's quite impressive that it's able to do all of this while remaining fairly coherent and also like giving it enough screen time for the main cast to sort of be fleshed out with their sort of uh developing sort of characters and storylines. It's really very impressive. Um
Mhm.
and I think early on I was kind of worried that it was going to be a bit too slow because they spend a lot of basically like the first half of this series is kind of just them doing the underground battle tournament stuff, um
Mhm.
which is fun, right? But like as you're kind of watching it, you're like, this is a Gundam series. Is this really just going to be like them doing like 2v2 Gundam battles for like the whole fucking thing? Like there's got to be more here, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
but in the last like few episodes, like somehow so much has happened, and yet it doesn't feel rushed like at all. At least in my opinion. Um,
Mhm.
and it is quite impressive. Um, but yeah.
Okay. I guess do you want to go over like audio visuals real quick or
Yeah, sure. So again, this is Sunrise and Kara. So
yeah.
two
And also
studios that
anything
are
that has like Hideaki Anno's like name on it isn't gonna be if they let it's like if they let him, quote unquote let him, right, in some alternate timeline, make a sloppy visual kind of series,
yeah,
we'd be we'd
yeah.
never hear the end of
Yeah,
it.
luckily this is two studios that are these are probably two of the most seasoned mecha studios just in the industry. Um,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
so
yeah.
it's in good hands for sure. The audio visuals, in my opinion, are pretty much like cream of the crop for a mecha that you can get right now. Um,
I know
the
some people thought that the designs for the Gundams look kind of whack, but how do they look when they're moving? Because I thought that even they look much better when they're in movement instead of just like what the promo art.
Yeah, so the obviously the main elephant in the room is the CG, right? Um, it's a mecha series, so the mecha are not hand animated. That ship has sailed about 20 years ago, right? Um, and again, this is two studios that are very seasoned in mecha animation. Kara, especially with recent um, Evangelion rebuilds, they've had a lot of experience with 3D animated mecha stuff, especially 3D animated mecha stuff that place in space, right? So the 3D CG here is very impressive. The mecha all move with a very believable amount of weight while also being fast because they're fucking Gundams, right? They move very quickly. Um, they do a lot of cool aerial maneuvers. There's a fight in I think it's episode 4, right? Where one of the suits, one of the Gelgooks uses like a tether, um,
Ah,
that
yes,
like
the Gelgoog.
yeah, yeah, the Gelgook. Um, but it uses like a tether that attaches to one of the Gundams to like do these really tight uh sort of maneuvers around opponent, and it's really cool. um but yeah, they look really good in motion. I think anyway. The designs, I mean, you can they're very hit or miss, I think. Some of the Gundam are fucking ugly, I'll say. Um, I think the GQuuuuuuX itself, when it doesn't have the visor like opened up, looks like shit. I think it's kind of ugly. Um, I think the red Gundam looks pretty fucking cool, in my opinion. Anyway, I quite like I kind of like the head, and I like the way the eyes and stuff shift color depending on uh the sort of mental state of the new type pilot inside. It's cool design. Um, yeah, as for like the stuff like the character animation and whatnot, the 2D animation, it's very impressive. There's a lot of really good sequences, a lot of really cool, um, just small character acting sequences with some of the more dramatic scenes. Um, there's some really cool stuff with like chase scenes or running scenes. I think that are animated very well. The color palette is super nice. The art style for this again is super nice with the Pokemon esque character designs. And another worthy note is that the newer characters again are designed by Take, who has worked on Pokemon, right?
Mhm.
And obviously the older characters, right, from the original Gundam series, they weren't designed by Take, right?
Mhm.
Um, and so they do this thing where the um in the flashback, so there's flashback episodes, right? Like there's flashback scenes. Um,
Mhm.
and the art style kind of shifts a little bit in the flashback scenes where
Okay.
they look like they're straight out of the 80s, right? um like the character designs are straight out of the 80s, and it fucking rocks.
Mhm.
They use the old music, they use the old sound effects, they even use like the old commercial break like sound effects,
Mhm.
and it fucking rocks. And then when they go into the more modern episodes, I feel like the more classic character designs, they kind of get softened a bit, so that way they still look like their original sort of 80s character
Oh,
designs,
okay.
but they
I see.
actually they fit in properly next to these newer, more rounded,
It's almost like
like main
having
characters.
an omnibus and like one of these like omnibus and like with what we have with Miro again or something like Star Wars Visions where they kind of adapted the ideas into like their original styles. Like they almost have like two teams working together.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's very impressive. And
Yeah,
it's done in a
you
fairly
can
slick
tell
manner.
who's an older character type just by how they look, but it doesn't look too out of place. I will say like the only one that looks that's an older character but fits in well with the newer style is Charlie Bull. He was there back there with Char, but he melds well into the newer style.
Well,
Uh,
he kind of got like totally redesigned, to be fair.
yeah, but
But it's
he
like,
yeah,
but it's like when you
but it
see like,
fits.
yeah, when you see like Makuv in the flashbacks and stuff, like he looks straight out of like the original series, and it's really cool to see. Um, but yeah, like nobody looks really like out of place, which is very impressive.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it's really cool. Um, again, the color palettes are super nice. They do again the in the colony. They have a lot of really nice, like especially at night, because a lot of where the colony scenes take place is sort of like a slum. It's like a refugee um, focused kind of slum area. So it's got
Mhm.
a lot. It's got a bit more of a dingy look to it, but at night it's got kind of these bright colors to it. It's very blue, um, and it rains sometimes, and it gets this sort of misty. Um, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but it's just a very they do a very good job at making it almost a nostalgic color palette while also looking very modern. It's just really impressive overall. But yeah, the music as well is pretty interesting. There's a lot of insert songs in this show. Like there's a fucking lot of them.
What sort of insert songs?
Just like general like poppy, synthy, like vocal tracks. Um, they use them a lot
Interesting.
though.
Who's your
And
favorite Nier? There's only one correct answer.
um, what's the one song? Halo. They use a lot. I like that
What?
one quite a bit. Yeah, I like that one
Okay.
quite a lot. Um, but yeah, they do use the ED song quite a bit too, right?
It's interesting that they
Um,
go for these insert songs specifically instead of just kind of having a similar soundtrack, but it's just BGM stuff.
yeah, they do have in some of the general stuff they do have like a just sort of soundtrack, but I think in a lot of these sort of um important character moments or introspective moments, they'll layer on like an insert song in the background, which is an interesting choice. It's not intrusive at all. Um but like as the series went on, I did kind of notice like a lot of insert songs in the show. Which is
Yeah.
interesting. But the songs that aren't insert songs are quite nice. There's a lot of really nice synth stuff. Um, there's again the way they sort of utilize the old school soundtrack as well in these like the flashback scenes is really cool. I mean it's something that Ano did very effectively in stuff like Shin Kamen Rider, Shin Ultraman, and Shin Godzilla. So it's expected to see, but again it's just very impressive. Um, yeah, overall, really good. The OP is Plasma by Yonezu Kenshi. Um,
Hmm?
don't know if you've heard of him, but the song is really good. I'm a big fan of Yonezu Kenshi. The visuals in the OP I think are really good. I like them a lot. They're snappy. They go with the series quite well. I like the sort of visualized effect when the whole cast is sort of running along to the beat. It's
Right.
very classic anime stuff, right? I think it's a really good OP. Um, the
It's very
ED,
good. Very good.
yeah, the ED is Modo Natamo Iya by Hoshimachi Suisei. Um, it's pretty
Oh
good.
yeah, I heard about this.
It's pretty good. Um, I think the track is a little generic, is what I'll say.
hmm
I think Suisei's voice is really good. I think the beat is pretty solid, but it feels a little standard, like standard J-pop. Um, the visuals themselves are cute, um, but they're not too exciting. It's about what you'd expect from an ED, right?
hmm
It's nothing too crazy. I do like it though. Nice, it's cute.
I was
But
about to say, Nier, you almost made a bad decision.
I mean, it's not a bad ED by any stretch.
I
It's
mean,
just like
yeah, it's fine.
it's
Like it's not gonna win. It's not
it's
gonna win any awards. Like like come on
I
now.
mean,
yeah.
you're wrong
To
there,
me,
but okay.
it's fairly standard. I'd say it's slightly above average. I'll say. Um, I do like the song. Um, but yeah, audio visuals are very impressive. Um, yeah. I
You
mean,
know what, Nier? I'm surprised you haven't. I mean, I'll bring up the elephant in the room. I'm surprised you haven't mentioned it at all.
what?
You brought up Evangelion and you mentioned Studio Kara once, but you haven't mentioned like the most important thing in this.
What?
You haven't mentioned how many Fooly Cooly references are in here and how much there's a lot of Fooly Cooly-esque
Uh-huh.
animations in this.
Uh-huh. You mean, are you talking about that like schizophrenic YouTube video you posted a while back that was like
Not no
two characters bumping into each other as a Fooly Cooly reference or
no
what?
not just that. You never noticed?
I mean, you mean the stuff with the Foolypedia or what?
I mean, that's one thing. But no, not that. Just that. Their mannerisms. None of that.
I mean, that's just a general Kara thing. Like it's not necessarily a
Are
Fooly
you
Cooly thing.
sure?
I mean,
I don't know.
obviously a
I
lot
see a
of
lot of
a lot of people that worked on Fooly Cooly worked on this, right? But that's just a general. I think that a lot of the general mannerisms are
A
just a
lot of
consequence of the.
Machu's mannerisms are
Yeah,
reminiscent of Fooly Cooly, and
it's a consequence of the more cartoony style of this, as opposed to something like Evangelion. But yeah, it is very.
yeah, I see it a lot more in Fooly Cooly than I do at Evangelion, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, you can see stuff like that in Die Buster as well too, though, right? So, but yeah, I
Thoughts
think it's just
on
consequence of a lot of the
Yeah, Near, what's
like
your
almost all of the staff from
thoughts on
Fooly
the
Cooly is like
message
working
of
on this, right?
great relationships leading only to turmoil and downfalls?
I mean, it's true, right?
who's your favorite character, Near?
In this,
Yes,
Char.
that's a wrong answer.
Nice.
But okay. I think Machu is a great character.
I mean, Machu's good. Machu's really good. I do like Machu a lot as a main character. I think,
You don't like
I think-
Shuji the most? What the hell?
Sorry,
Yeah,
I
I
only like
think the-
girls.
I don't
the
give a
one
fuck
thing-
about Shuji. Like,
I think the one thing that I want to be developed a little bit more is what exactly Machu is pursuing in Shuji. Cause like
I mean,
They-
because
can-
did you? I forget. Did you
they
cover the part
hinted-
when they
I can-
fucking like kill someone for the first time? She's like, I gotta be the best, like Shuji who kills people. I guess that's
Yeah.
what it
that's
takes.
Near.
And it's like
kind of
that's a really far fucking like. Okay.
I thought the message was pretty clear, Near. But do you want me to explain it?
I mean,
Kinda.
What? Like
if you want to,
It's always been this type of case though, with this type of character. If you notice, I mean,
I mean,
I can
Shuji-
sum it up with I can
Shuji
sum it
is
up with
effectively like the Lala of this series, right? Is what you're playing or what?
are you talking about Shuji? Or
kinda.
are you talking about Machu? Because like for Machu, like the thing is that it's like they kind of just like, at least for now, are like Machu's not really making her own decisions with a lot of things.
I want to say
a
that
way.
Machu. I can sum it up into one sentence. It's the new type phenomenon, man. It's always been the new types.
It is, but it's just
New
like
types
I
are
wish
new types
'cause
are
in-
freaks.
because in the original series, Char and Amuro, like they were in love with Lala, right? Like they loved her.
I wouldn't say her Machu parallels Amuro's personality or Char's in more this matter. She more parallels I want to say she kind of parallels Camille in the sense Machu's written more. I feel like Machu's more written like a Zeta-esque character where they
Sure.
delve into more new type kind of stuff.
Yeah, I
And,
mean, yeah, there's a lot of new type shit going on here, right? But it's like I just wish because it's presenting this sort of new type draw, or like as a new type, she's drawn.
Yeah, new
to
types are
Shuji,
drawn to each other,
right?
and
But I
the whole
wish
time that
they would present a little bit more of a motivation other than just like they're new types and they're drawn to each other, right?
I mean, it was kind of explained early on, right? Machu just kind of flitting through life because she's a high school student. And she said, "Oh, I want to be a jellyfish because jellyfish are free." And
Yeah,
as a
but
new
I
type,
mean, like floating through life versus being like, I'm gonna do murder. Actually, I think I'm gonna kill
Yeah.
people. It is a
I
bit of a
think-
jump. Like,
I think
I
there
don't know, man.
there should have been at least one scene where because when Machu and Neon have this sort of spat, right? When Neon gets into the Gundam and Machu is like, that was for me, right? Like that was my fucking space, right? Like that was my special place. And she gets mad at Neon, and then they have this sort of thing where it's like Machu and Neon are like, we gotta fucking help Shuji, and then Neon's like, are you in love with Shuji or what? And then they just don't answer, right? I feel like
They were going to,
they're-
but something
yeah,
happened.
sure, but it's like I feel like instead of it just being up in the air, I feel like there could have been just some amount of like explanation of what exactly Machu's reasoning is. because it's very obvious that Neon loves Shuji, right? Like she wants Shuji. But with Machu, it's a little bit less clear. Like it is literally just
But that's
it
part of
is
her
literally just
character
new type
development here.
mumbo jumbo. I mean, sure, but we're also 9 episodes in, right?
They'll meet on the battlefield and then they'll explain it.
I mean,
It's kind
yeah,
of because the whole thing is that she's indecisive. She's go to, like she'll do whatever she wants when the time comes, but at the same time, when it comes to this, she has to calm down and think about it. So it'll come in the future.
yeah.
It makes
It's
sense.
just
It
one of
makes
it's
sense with
just.
their character development.
I mean, I know it makes sense. It's just like it is a small gripe for me that like Machu, as a main character, is kind of one of the only ones that hasn't really had their motivations really made clear. And I get that like that's part of Machu's character is that she doesn't really have a motivation to necessarily do any one specific thing. She is kind of just going with the flow. Um, but with
Just
like
like a jellyfish.
like in the hole Machu is with shit, I feel like it should have given her at least one concrete thing to like push towards, other than just being like, I want to meet Shuji. It's a little bit flimsy. Um, but yeah, I don't know. In terms of like for me, like favorite character that was like new to this series, I really like Chico. I think Chico was fantastic, like as a character.
The Gelgoog pilot.
Yeah, yeah, I think she was really, really good. But yeah,
Did you get it near? Do you know why she moves so fast?
why?
Meg, what? Not just the what is it? The witch's curse, as they call it. But near
Yeah,
magnetic coating. Did you see that guy? Did
yeah.
you see? That's the guy that That's the guy that puts the magnetic coating on the Gundam in the original timeline. That's him. He's still
Oh,
alive.
really?
Yeah. That's why
Okay.
they're like, oh hey, magnetic coating.
Oh, yeah, they did the whole like frictionless movement thing or whatever as well. Um, which is like sure in space, but whatever. Um, I mean, I guess
Then
there's
near,
something
don't you
like
remember why
friction in
magnetic
space,
coating
but
was applied? It makes sense.
yeah,
Amuro was too fast for the Gundams. Like, damn, we gotta
yeah.
up the speed.
Um,
That's why when you see in later adaptations, the Gundam moves super fast and is like a freak of nature, and everyone's like, damn, that thing's fast. Yeah.
yeah. I forget. So, um, this series has kind of just like not addressed Amuro at all, right? Like he kind
Who's
of just
Amuro?
yeah, like he kind of just doesn't exist in this timeline.
Amuro was wandering around with what's her face and got blown near the site of
Yeah.
battle, and then he sees the Gundam up in cockpit. So no, but
Okay.
if
So
you want to know,
he just got blown up, I guess. This timeline.
the the White Devil that that's no longer Amuro was addressed in the first episode. But did you forget who triggered the Zek Nova with Char?
I must have. Wait, was it? You mean in when he was in the base or whatever?
Yeah,
It was what's her
that
name,
would be
right?
yeah,
In
that's
the
Sayla.
yeah
Sayla became the ace pilot for the Federation instead.
yeah. I was just surprised that like I thought that was a really cool Easter egg personally, but I was just kind of surprised that like Amuro hasn't even been like even like the tiniest hint, which is I mean it makes I guess sense.
Amuro's dad appeared, and I don't think he got blown. Did he? I don't know. He didn't get blown out of the Side 7 without a spacesuit, right?
I don't think so.
All right.
um
But yeah, but that's because this is a Xeon story, Near. Who needs
yeah,
Amuro?
true,
Char.
true. Um
Also, Near. What's your favorite new redesign?
um in terms of what? Just like the characters or
No,
like
no, the mobile suits.
the mobile suits? I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I don't really like a lot of the new like mobile suits, right? I think the Zaku look really good. I think the Red Gundam looks really good in my opinion. Um, but
But
like,
Near, what about the Gyan? The Gyan looks sick.
yeah, Again, I don't have like the mecha autism. You have. What was
Again,
the
and the Hammurabi looks sick, dude.
what were the two mechs that the dudes that fought Neon and Shuji?
The Doms.
Yes, yes. I thought they looked really cool. I thought they looked
I mean,
cool.
they kind of look like Doms. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, but the Hammurabis looks way different. It looks cool.
yeah.
Let me pull it up.
But yeah, I don't have the super mech autism like you do. So to me, it's kind of just all they all kind of look
Yeah.
a little bit similar. I did like the what was it? The Zaku with like the lance, the one dude piloted when he was protecting Cassilia. That
That
looked cool.
that's the Gyan, my dude.
Yeah, I don't know the names
Here,
of every
come on.
fucking mech, dude. I don't know. I don't know these things. But yeah, he looked really cool.
I just posted the difference. There you go. Look at it.
Yeah, yeah, it's nice. Yeah, I think the mech
I-
designs in general look pretty good in this. I do think like the sort of Mook Federation mobile suits are ugly. Although they were kind of
Well,
always
here.
well,
What
they were
about the
always
gun
kinda ugly.
tank? I think the gun tank is good.
Which one? Gundam.
All right, I do want to ask. So this aside, I do want to
Here's
ask
the
one
new
more
gun
question.
tank.
Uh, can I ask my one question before we start wrapping up? Uh, I know the Gundam franchise has been doing a lot of these sorts of like ventures. Obviously, um, I want to say compared to GQuuuuuuX, probably Witch of Mercury is actually on the milder side in terms of like how the media project was structured. Right, GQuuuuuuX is definitely a little bit more radical in scope than Witch of Mercury was, I would say. But uh, how do I phrase this? Do you think that this is now sort of the future, the how people want the franchise to play out for Gundam? I don't
Spider,
mean the fans. I mean like
Spider.
people with the money behind it.
We
Is that
literally have had 3 redheaded female protagonists back to back. What do you think, man? We literally just had Witcher Mercury
yeah?
with Aletta. Then we had freaking Requiem for Vengeance with what's her name, Ilya, and then now we have GQuuuuuuX with Machu. Like everyone knows,
So
redheaded protagonists,
Well,
female protagonists are better
the
than that.
redhead protagonist is one thing, but I mean like really, well, like jokes aside, these sorts of like outreaches, I want to say, right, is maybe a word for them, but it's like, do you think this is consistently what will come out in the future?
yeah,
Yes,
so I think right now what is selling for Gundam are these
Uh-huh.
sort of standalone stories, right? Um
Okay.
the Gundam, I think for the general consensus I've seen for a lot of people that are like hesitant to get into Gundam is like the UC timeline shit.
you just like the UC
It's
timeline is premium. There's so much material to work with.
yeah, there's a lot, and it's good. Like pretty much all of it is good, right? But it's long, right? Like it goes back to the fucking 80s, right?
Mm.
And so I think these like little stories, like Witch from Mercury was completely standalone, right? Like you didn't need to know anything about Gundam, you could just watch it, right? Um, and even though GQuuuuuuX is heavily referencing the original source material or the original timeline, I think it's very standalone, right? Like it's something that you can pick up, you can watch it. I've seen a lot of people online actually saying that like this is their first Gundam ever, and they're loving it, right? Um, and so I think the future of Gundam is a lot of these kind of standalone spin-off stuff. Um, I'm sure there will be more series to come out that either continue or build off of or fill in the gaps of the UC timeline. Um, but I think Gundam is kind of facing a similar problem that Star Wars has been facing for a very long time, where it's like you have sort of this window of story and there's only so many things that you can cram into the beginning and the end before you're like kind of just making up bullshit, right? Or you're like telling stories
It's kind of what
of
I was
like
complaining about with Star Wars again as well, where it's like you can only take so much of like a specific time period and then try to
Uh,
put it to
I just
literally everybody.
I literally disagree with both of you near. There's so. Do you know how much content has been happening in the 1 Year War? I swear there's like 20 side stories, and they could
yes,
keep
but the
making more.
problem is with Gundam and filling in all these stories. It's like a lot of the times a good chunk of these stories have to be completely inconsequential to the
Yeah,
outcome of the
that's
war,
fair.
right? These have
Yeah,
to
yeah,
Even
be
yeah.
freaking Unicorn was inconsequential, and
yeah,
that's
these
a
have to
big
be
one.
very like small scale, like yeah, this happened on like one planet or one colony, and it didn't
Mhm.
necessarily
This
influence the
happened in
general
the
outcome
jungles
of the
of
war.
Africa, and this
Yeah,
happened like, yeah,
it's like with Star Wars, you have a lot of these like comics and stuff and these side stories and these
Yeah, it's just like
novels,
stormtrooper, yeah,
and
like a
it's like
single
just like
stormtrooper who looks up to
yeah, like
Vader, yeah, kind of.
this one stormtrooper is doing this thing on the Death Star, and it's like
Yeah,
okay, the story could be fantastic, right? There's a lot of very
yeah,
good
yeah, yeah.
Star Wars comics, but like the 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 story about the like former clone trooper that like had a fucking like falling out with like who was initially like gung ho with the Empire, and then he saw Vader kill a bunch of fucking refugees and was like, wait a minute, the Empire's evil. I'm gonna be a deserter now. And then like by the end of it, he gets fucking gunned down anyway. It's like
Yeah,
this is a
yeah,
good
yeah,
story, but it has no influence on Star Wars, right? Like as you
yeah, yeah, yeah.
noticed. And Star
And
Wars,
then there are like 50 variants of those.
yeah, and Star Wars has like a lot more room to work with, right? Because Star Wars is an entire fucking galaxy, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it spans over a much longer period of time, right? Um,
Mhm,
the UC timeline it has to fit a lot of this shit within the 1 Year War, right? Um,
mhm.
and the Gundam universe isn't nearly as vast as the Star Wars universe. So there's only so many little things that they can sort of cram into it before they kind of have to be like, all right, um, we either just do these sort of standalone stories like Witch from Mercury, or we start doing, um, alternate timeline spin-offs, or we do a fucking reboot. Like they just start reanimating Gundam from the start, right?
near that's called
Um,
Gundam: The Origin.
Remakes.
They
yeah,
already did that.
yeah, but I mean they can do it as many times as they want to, right? Like
And you know what? I like it
yep,
because it
people will
sells.
watch Amuro fight Char a million fucking times, and I mean I'll do it too, but um, yeah,
Honestly, I think that like the the stuff that happens in around the 1 Year War, I want to say from 1 year from the Gundam all the way to maybe Zeta or Double Zeta is still like the prime timeline because I mean you can even go all the way up to Hathaway's Flash, like from UC 79 all the way to UC 100. That's where all the good stuff takes place because after that gets really wacky with
yeah,
like even F like F91 crossbow and all that. It gets kind of weird and less grounded than the original 30 years. They still got a lot of good content that they can make in UC all the up to UC 100 because that's the stuff where that's the part where and all this new type stuff still makes sense because after that it doesn't make sense anymore. So yeah, keep it coming. Also, shout out to the fourth red-haired female protagonist I almost forgot about, but then I just remembered Alma from Code Fairy. That's also 1 Year War, by the way.
uh-huh.
When's that
Um,
anime coming out?
but yeah, uh, yeah, I do think like the general future of Gundam from both the viewer perspective and the sort of production committee side is probably a lot of these smaller standalone side stories that are
Mhm,
easily
mhm.
digestible. Because I mean, it just
Yeah,
makes
Just keep them UC and everyone will be happy.
yeah, it just makes sense, right? Like you just got to put Char in there somehow. and people are probably good, right?
And also, I
But
think
less
what's
star and
interesting,
more like a cute Xeon pilot
True.
because people
what's
love Xeon. Not
what's
Federation as
also
much.
interesting is like and I especially noticed this with Witch of Mercury, and I'll no doubt be the same with GQuuuuuX, but it's like you can like obviously there are Gundam merch, but it's like for the most part, before Witch of Mercury, right? A lot of it's kind of was relegated. Like if we're being honest, it was relegated to something like Gundam figurines and Gunpla and stuff like that, right? And with Witch of Mercury, I think they realized, and this is not necessarily me being cynical, it's just more me being realistic. They realized, wait a minute, Witch of Mercury sells a shit ton of other merch that's not just Gunpla, like figurines, right? Figures. So they're also trying to capitalize upon that, where it's like you can sell casuals a lot of this merch and like get money in a way that's not directly just like the Gunpla, the Gundam, like otaku stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think
So
I
I
think
think
Wish
that's
for
a big
Mercury
part.
was also a big windfall for Gundam in general, and just being like, huh,
We
not
can make all the
only
money.
not only Gundam artists and like mecha artists will watch Gundam if it's just like easily accessible, right? Like easily digestible, like it's just to get into.
Right.
Like people would just watch it, right? Like if it's a good show, people would just watch it. So yeah,
So they brought in the guy who would make the best show for
yeah, for
this sort of
easily
genre.
easily
Yeah.
digestible and not convoluted stories at all. Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
G-Cox's story is kind of convoluted, but it's not convoluted to the point where you
I mean,
wouldn't
it's
understand it.
convoluted. Yeah, it's convoluted in
Especially
the
what
sense
happened
that
what happened in episode 9. It's like,
yeah,
what?
there's a lot of shit going on, but it's like it's convoluted in the sense where it's like you want to know more, and not in the sense of
Yeah, yeah.
like I don't understand what the fuck is going on. Which is a good thing, obviously. I think it's kind of like how in the early rebuilds for Evangelion, a lot of people were kind of just like, "What the fuck is going on?" Like what the fuck is happening in the story right now? Because like the rebuilds are like a reboot, but they're a sequel, but they're on a remade universe maybe, and it's just like there's so much weird shit going on. Um, but with this, it's just like, yeah, like there's a mystery, and you're not entirely sure what's going on, but it's presented in such a way that it's easily digestible to like understand the basic gist of what's happening, while also being intrigued and being like, huh, I wonder what exactly is happening here. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's just overall very, very, very impressive storytelling, very
Yeah, the
impressive
way they
writing.
properly set up the story and made it again like appeal to enough people without it causing some sort of like ruckus in the news because there are plenty of these things and we know not just with like anime but with like games or other stuff where it's like you kind of make a very hard left turn to appeal to a more casual palette, but then at the same time you kind of screw up what you should have kept within the original source, right? In the original kind of story. And it's good that they managed to kind of keep this still coherent with despite all these like different layers that they had to use and appeal to different audiences. So
Yeah.
All right, Near, 2 more questions before I'm pretty much done. All right.
Yeah.
oh
How
my
do you
god.
feel about the miniaturization of mobile suits? Because I think it's ass.
What you mean, like how they aren't absolutely fucking absurdly huge anymore?
Well, that's past UC 100.
Yeah.
I'm saying they're ass. How do you
Um,
feel about them? I think they're ass. I don't like
it,
it.
it's just like the general scale of the Gundams. I mean, I think it's
Yeah,
okay. I think,
because when I play GBO2 and I'm playing the F91 and I'm this tiny thing against a new Gundam, I'm like, damn,
well, I mean,
I'm super strong, but this feels like ass. I
that's
like
more.
my big, giant, clunky things.
I think that's more of an issue of being next to an older, bigger Gundam.
Yeah.
When you have the scale right next to you, I think obviously in the series it works. I think if they were much bigger, it would look a bit weird, especially in some of the colony scenes. I think the general smaller scale of them is good for like the believability of like how fast they're going in space and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's better. It's fine in space, but when you get to the colony stuff, I'm like, I don't like it.
Yeah, I do think it was a good sort of contrast with the big mobile armor that they had, like trashing the city as well.
Psycho
That was,
Gundam. Yeah, but
yeah.
I believe GQuuuuuuX is standard size, like 18. But yeah.
I'm not 100% sure, but yeah.
All right.
I
Also,
don't really have the strongest opinion on how big they are.
all right. Near. Do you like arm rakers?
Arm rakers? What do you mean?
What's your preferred control scheme for a Gundam or a mobile suit?
Oh, you mean like the I mean, I think the weird like the like palm things
The
that
balls? Do you like the
the
balls?
G-Quax has, I don't like those.
Oh,
I've
that's
never
I would call that an arm raker.
Yeah, I've never really liked those. I like the
It's
if I'm
fine
gonna
when it comes down because it's like, it's being controlled by the side combo, so it's fine.
yeah, if I had to like make a tier list in terms of like mecha like uh I guess interface sort of things,
Here's an arm raker near. I hate those.
it's the like glove that yeah, I hate it's like a glove that you put your hand into that has a bunch of little pistons in it that's from Pat Labor. I think that's the absolute top tier.
You're not a traditional uh joystick kind of guy.
They're okay. I mean, I've always been partial to just like the sliding static joysticks that the Evangelions have.
Yeah,
I
that's
just
the
think
standard one.
yeah, I just think it looks slick. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, that's kind of why everyone everyone went back to us because after the 80s, because they're like, oh, well, we love trackballs, and then later we're like, no, we don't. Let's go back to the traditional
yeah, they're kind of lame.
mouse
Like
mouse
I
and
think
keyboard stuff.
if you're gonna do like the sort of pseudo like brain, like the thing interacts with your brain, stuff, you might as well just put them in the hologram dome and like their own movements are mirrored by the mech, right?
Oh, I love the mobile tray system.
Yeah, but yeah, yeah. As for
What,
like
what?
my
Yeah.
final words, I think the only thing that I could really comment that I haven't said yet is that um, I know there's a subsect of Gundam fans that really do not like new types. They really dislike the whole new type
Yeah, Nier.
aspect.
Are you an old type or are you a new type?
Yeah. Um, there are a lot of Gundam fans that really don't like the idea of new types. They think it's stupid, space magic, whatever. And they really just prefer like big metal robots slapping each other, which I think is fine. Um, but like I think if you're one of those Gundam fans, well, you kind of slim picking in terms of what you're
Just
actually
go back
watching.
to 08 MS
Yeah,
team.
just watch 08th MS Team for the 50th time. I
I
guess
like 08 MS team.
because this
But
series has a lot of new type shit. There's a lot of new types in this show, and there's a lot of new type stuff. Um, so
this
you know,
is a this takes place during 0085, which is 2 years before Zeta. And the whole thing, the whole latter half of the original Gundam thing was involved nuke types and how Amuro and Char are rapidly evolving. So it's
yeah,
something you can never escape from.
yeah.
But yeah,
I mean,
if you
this
want
one
old
has new
types,
types to the point where it's like they're making fucking artificial new types and stuff.
yeah,
So,
cyber nuke types are already a thing in
yeah,
Zeta.
but yeah,
Did you get the
Right.
reference there?
for what?
Her name was Do Murasame. Get it? Do
Oh,
means two, just like Pluto. Ha ha
uh,
ha.
but yeah, um, but yeah, I think if you're one of those people, you're probably not gonna like this very much. But I think most Gundam fans that have been watching for a while are just like are in for the ride for the new type magic shit. I think it's fine, but yeah, that's kind of like the only, I guess, like don't recommend type crowd out there. But otherwise, like
Their
I really
souls are weighed down by gravity.
yeah, there's really just like no reason not to watch this show, in my opinion. It's really good. I think if
And you
you
would recommend this again both to newcomers and to
yeah, for
uh
sure.
well
Basically, if you're a fan of anime, you should probably check this out, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
If you're a fan of anime, you've probably heard of Gundam at the very least, right? And if
And
you
you've
haven't
also
checked
probably
out,
heard GQuuuuuuX coming up on the news just because of all the collaboration
yeah, for sure.
efforts. Yeah.
If you haven't watched it, if you haven't watched Gundam, I mean, this is perfectly fine getting in point. So yeah, there's really no reason not to check this out, in my
But what's your
opinion.
scale near?
It's really good. Right now, so I mean, this is definitely getting a second season, right? There's no way this is not getting a second core or something, right?
I mean,
It's getting the full 12 episodes right now,
I
right? This
kind of
season?
think it could complete its whole thing within
I
3 more episodes.
I don't know, man. They're setting up
It
so
kind of
much.
feels like it is.
They're
Like,
setting up a lot. But like either this gets like a movie sequel, or
fair.
some sort of a set of OVAs, or something. It's definitely getting a sequel. Like it's gotta be. Like they're setting up so much shit right now. But right now I think I think I give this a 9. Like
Good.
it's just really good. I think the way it's balancing just like so much, so effectively, it's just like there's really nothing but applause I have for this series.
Mhm.
Like it's really fucking good. Like yeah,
All
watch
right.
it.
So, Nier, what Gundam series is it better and worse than?
I mean, I'm not gonna make a Gundam tier list right now. But like for me personally, this is definitely near the top for sure. Um, like, but again, I'm not a super big Gundam, so
I
What would
think it's
you
better than Witch of Mercury. Hot take, yeah, I know. But worse than, I don't know.
okay.
yeah. What rating would you give it, I guess,
He just
for
said 9.
Yeah, I'll give
uh
it a 9. Probably maybe a
yeah, okay,
9.5, depending on um
interesting.
how these last few episodes go. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I coming in as more of an outsider, like I don't want to be like offensive. Like I literally like don't want to be like that guy, but it's just like I think it is an interesting turn that the franchise has taken with these like last couple of series, and it's interesting to see how far they can go. And I hope they can keep putting out series that are of this quality, um, without I hope they can continue to do these sorts of like more interesting kind of like spin-off series while maintain that have this newcomer appeal without losing the quality is what I'll say. So again, if you I guess if you like anime in general, obviously you've heard of Gundam. You've probably heard of G-Cooks if you've put your ears to the ground a little bit. You should check it out. People everybody out there should check it out. So thank you very much, Nier and Toast, for helping to cover